Part 3. Henry VIII gets his own church. In 1527, it was 3 decades since Luther nailed his theses to the Wittenberg church door. The Reformation was making inroads throughout Europe. The northern European states had replaced Catholicism with Protestant state religions that the local ruler, not Rome, controlled. And in England, Henry VIII noticed that. Henry had been crowned in 1509 as a staunch Catholic, but by 1527, 18 years into his reign, and 35 years after Columbus first caught sight of the Americas, Henry was tired of his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. He needed a male heir, and Catherine wasn't producing one. He needed money, he was in love with a much younger and prettier Anne Boleyn, and he wanted a divorce. But the Catholic Church controlled royal divorces, and the Pope, for political reasons, would not give him one. For Henry, it was go big or go home. He seized the opportunity the Reformation offered, and with the Puritans and his chief minister Thomas Cromwell, he replaced the Catholic English Church with his very own Church of England in 1534. Thomas Cranmer, the first Protestant Archbishop of Canterbury, gave Henry his divorce. Henry was free to marry Anne, and, not by coincidence, Henry took possession of all the church's land and wealth in England. But leveraging the Reformation for his divorce meant England now had 3 anti-papacy sects: the Anglican Church of England, and dissenters, generally divided into the Puritans, also called nonconformists, and the Pilgrims, also called the Separatists. And there were a host of splinter factions within the various groups. The change from Catholicism to state Anglicanism was a violent, traumatic process that whipsawed back and forth for 25 years. Every change meant state-enforced oppression, violence, and not infrequently death. King Henry oppressed and killed Catholics who would not convert. 19 years later, in 1553, Queen Mary, nicknamed Bloody Mary for a reason, changed England's state religion back to Catholicism. She tortured and burned Protestants who would not renounce and convert back to Catholicism. And when Mary was finally deposed by Queen Elizabeth 5 years later, in 1558, Elizabeth, in her turn, also repressed and tortured Catholics who would not convert back to the Church of England. England changed back and forth between Catholicism and the Church of England 3 times in those 25 years. It was not permanently Anglican until Elizabeth's reign in 1558. The whipsawing back and forth between Anglicanism and Catholicism taught people some lessons. First, everyone accepted that there had to be a state religion, but it was no longer the eternal monolith of the Catholic Church. The fact that the king had changed the official church to suit his own wishes implied anybody could set up their own sect. Secondly, the change resulted in a constantly changing mix of Protestant dissenter sects, separate from the official church, mostly not approved or supported by the state, and who still managed to survive and grow. Third, the not very effective attempts by the crown to keep English Protestantism under Anglican control tended to drive the non-approved sects to seek refuge elsewhere. And for these Protestant migrants, North America, very far from the weight and authority of official Anglicanism, and with weak colonial American official religious institutions, was the ideal place to go.